What is the Morgan Housel Guide to Writing? He has built a life where he can walk aimlessly, read aimlessly, and pick when he wants to work, all so that he can be more creative and write better. And in this video, we're going to look at Housel's writing process by focusing on his experience writing this book, The Psychology of Money, and his controversial theory that writers should write for themselves and not their audiences. Morgan Housel never set out to be a writer. He started writing as a stopgap while studying economics at USC. But now, 14 years later, Housel is an award-winning financial writer, a partner at the Collaborative Fund, former columnist at the Wall Street Journal, and the author of this hugely popular book, The Psychology of Money. In his 5 years at the Collaborative Fund alone, he's written more than 260 articles, and then back when he wrote for The Motley Fool, he was writing 3 articles a day, 5 days a week.
Which is a tremendous amount. It's too much. And because I was playing the volume game, 3 articles a day, they weren't any good because I had an hour to think of an idea, type it out, and get it sent out.
But despite all that success, Housel agrees that writing is hard. Of course it is. And that's why he believes that good writing should be selfish and that it should actually come easily. But how does that make sense? Let's break it down. When Morgan finds himself struggling to write, that's when he knows his idea isn't working. This proves to him that his thesis is wrong or that there's something missing. Because when something flows easily and the dots are essentially connecting themselves, that's when you know an idea is good. But then what's the trick to good writing? How do you actually make the idea flow with clarity and ease? When I interviewed Morgan about this, he made one point glaringly clear. Write for yourself.
The whole purpose of that, David, is I feel like most writers, most writing courses would tell you, know your audience, know who are your audiences and write for them, write in a way that's accessible for them, etc. And I don't think that's bad advice, but what's always worked best for me is I just want to write stuff that I personally would be interested in reading. That's why I call it selfish writing.
But Housel believes that if you're writing for yourself, that excitement's going to shine through and become infectious to your readers. They'll find it compelling to read because you found it interesting to write. And Housel calls this selfish writing. Basically, instead of seeking your target audience, let your target audience find you. And the internet has made this easier than ever before. If you write online about things that excite you, the right people are going to find you. And this happens in writing, it happens in photography, it happens in filmmaking. And because it's happening all across mediums, there's people like Hollywood film director Wes Anderson who also share this view.
Because up to that point, my attitude was, just wait till they see this.
Right.
And a lot of people were, does this story hold together, or are people going to understand why these boys are acting like this? And I was like, I think they're going to understand. It's pretty funny.
Much of Housel's life is built around keeping things simple and not trying to force ideas that aren't working. And he now only writes 1 article per week, as opposed to the 15 that he was writing at the Motley Fool. And he finds that the best ideas come to him when he isn't even in front of his computer, when he's doing things like driving in the car or in the shower, riding his bike, or even walking. He says that he goes on 2 to 3 walks per day and believes that that's actually where most of his writing and creative thinking happens. And this is because people's brains, they work differently when you're on a walk. On a walk, the analytical side of your brain goes dim. You gotta stay alert and be aware of your surroundings, which gets you away from that conscious processing that makes it hard to come up with new ideas. In fact, Housel believes that much of his writing work is just aimless, and he gives his mind the time and the space to breathe, to let ideas grow organically out of everyday experiences. That's when he's finally ready to do the final portion of the work, the actual writing, where he can just enjoy letting all the ideas come out of his brain and just unwind, and then he can put them together on the page. Morgan does this not just because it's effective, but because it's fun for him too. And it's another example of his selfish writing philosophy. He's not writing in a way that goes and targets a reader. He's writing in a way that he actually likes.
I'm writing for an audience of 1, just me. And I really think of this as just the whole writing process is I want to research things that I'm interested about, come up with a story that I think is neat, and write it in a way that I would want to read it. and that's it.
And it works because the reader can then feel the enthusiasm and the enjoyment of the process baked into the article itself. Writing The Psychology of Money wasn't easy for him. Despite his interest in the topic, this book writing wasn't as easy as the kind of writing he was used to. After 9 months of struggling, Housel's wife finally asked him, "What the hell is going on with your book?" And he realized that the issue was that he was trying to write the book the way he was supposed to, rather than the way he actually wanted to. Originally, the book was going to be 10 chapters of 4,000 to 5,000 words each, which is a traditional chapter length. But Housel was used to only writing 2,000 word articles. So instead of forcing himself to write in a way that didn't suit him or what he was used to, he wrote for himself and adjusted the book to be 20 chapters, roughly 2,000 words each. But my favorite one is only 400 words.
But I really just want to make my point, make it as succinctly as I can, and then get out of your way and move to the next chapter. There's one chapter in the book that is 400 words, which is like one page. And I think that's probably my favorite chapter in the book. And when I turned it into the publisher, they said, "Hey, is this a mistake? Are we missing stuff here?" And I said, "No." And they said, "Well, do you want to add more to that?" And I said, "No, that's all I have to say on that topic." And as like out of respect for the reader, if I have nothing else to say, then I'm done. Like, move on. I'm not going to waste your time rambling just to prove that I can write a long book.
If you're looking to improve your writing while achieving entrepreneurial success, make sure to check out my video on Taylor Swift's $1 Million Writing Technique.